So I'm here with Representative Marty Joe Murray. We are at the Drip in St. Louis on South Grand. We are currently in their banned books library. This place is a vibe. If you have not been to the Drip in St. Louis, this is my first time here. The representative recommended it. It's fantastic. Husband, father, bow ties personified, representative for the 78th District, Marty Joe Murray. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
Well, thanks for sitting down and talking to me. So we are here a few weeks before legislative session is going to start.
Don't remind me.
I know, I'm so sorry. To start with the most important question of all, what is your audio entertainment for the 2-hour drive between St. Louis and Jefferson City?
I mean, ideally, so it depends. So sometimes I do the train. So,
Okay.
I
Sure.
do Amtrak, and we call it the Choo Choo Caucus.
Yeah.
So we'll be sitting with other reps coming from St. Louis, pick them up in
Sure.
Kirkwood, and we just have like meetings, I guess, or phone calls or checking emails or things like that.
Yeah.
But when I'm getting ready to pull into the Capitol, it's Kendrick Lamar.
Okay. I did a lot of Wu-Tang when I worked in the mayor's office.
Okay.
If I
I
was
like that.
really in a
I like
mood,
that.
I would just put on Wu-Tang.
I like that.
So first, I wanted to ask, could you just tell me a little bit about your district?
Yeah. So, State Representative, 78th District, I always say it's the best district in the state. My colleagues like to throw things at me when I say that. But I think it's one of the most diverse, has the broadest range of perspectives because, we have downtown, so we don't have the arch, but we go as far north as Old North and St. Louis Place.
Yeah.
Go downtown, down Jefferson, NGA is in the district.
Mm-hmm.
We pick up Lafayette Square,
Okay.
McKinley Heights.
Yeah.
But then we continue south and we pick up Dutchtown and Gravois Park.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like the broad spectrum of perspectives that district has is like, it reflects in the types of legislation that I have to champion in the building.
I don't live in your district, but I kind of notoriously spend a lot of my time downtown.
Okay.
My son goes to daycare in your district.
Okay.
My office is in your district. What I kind of wanted to get into is you've pre-filed or co-sponsored, I think, 37 pieces of legislation going into the 2026 session.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your priority when we get to the end of session? What is a sign of success that you've delivered for your constituents?
So when I thought about that question, when people ask it, I always laugh a little bit because everything is the priority. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the job as a state representative, a legislator, is such a unique thing because the bills that I sponsor and co-sponsor, that's only one aspect of the job. Like, trying to get it referred to a committee, trying to get co-sponsors, trying to get organizations to come testify, community members to come testify. But a big portion of the job and what I think the priority will be is like from a defensive perspective, because we're in a super minority.
Right.
Like if we were in the majority and I had, a Democratic speaker, I could say, these are the bills I'm going to try to get passed and have a high likelihood to get the votes to get it across.
Right.
So for me as a Democrat, it's like all of my bills that I sponsored, I'll be looking to put those as amendments onto Republican legislation. So I'll still run it the same, but it's not as if I'm planning to have the governor sign my bill at the end of the year.
Sure. So success is getting language passed.
Yep.
Whether it's as an amendment, tacked on
Yep.
to something else. Kind of to that point, I noticed that a number of the bills that you've co-sponsored with Republicans who are, in the opposite party. They're in the supermajority. How does that play into your tactic? How do you see yourself working across the aisle to get some of these priorities passed?
I think that everybody in Jeff City, like in the Democratic caucus, we all have a role to play. Not everybody plays the same role, whether that's like you're a bomb thrower, maybe you are the one that's willing to step across the aisle to make concessions, to work, collaboratively. And for the fair majority of the bills that we pass or the things that we work on, the media or the press will highlight the things that are most inflamed. Obviously, they want clicks. So I'll never be able to work with a Republican on guns, abortion, or probably trans legislation. Like they'll never hear me from the light of day.
Yeah.
But it's such a broad spectrum of things that we do agree on, like the AI stuff, healthcare, for the most part, criminal justice reform. It's so many things that I think that you can have a conversation about. So I try to find ways that I can just get things done, and I think that's why you saw like the co-sponsor and both sides.
Yeah, and you mentioned artificial intelligence, which is obviously it's something that I focus on a lot in my writing. You are a member of the House Future Caucus, so this is a group that took some time during post session to take some meetings around the state and learn about some upcoming issues that could, that the legislature might have to focus on.
Right.
One of those being artificial intelligence. So I wanted to ask you, when it comes to artificial intelligence and the bills that you filed so far, what is a reasonable expectation of what state level government regulations can look like in Missouri when it comes to artificial intelligence?
Well, I felt great about it when first day of filing, and I see all of these both sides of the aisle, people focusing on it before the Future Caucus even had given our report.
Yeah.
Because that was the aim. It's like we as a Future Caucus, we bring in all these industry experts, we sit down and we say, okay, this is where the gaps are, and this is what we think the state should be doing to fill those gaps. But people already jumped towards it because it's that pressing of an issue. I was a little discouraged when I saw the president issuing his executive order saying that states can pass their own AI laws.
Right.
Granted, it's not binding and it's just more like a signal, but we've seen the House Republicans and Senate Republicans do whatever the president wants them to do, whether that be the gerrymandering, whether that be passing any type of legislation around like LGBTQIA plus type things, getting rid of DEI. So I have no reason to believe that they won't fold when it comes to AI bills, even though they sponsored some.
You don't think that they have as strong a spines as the Republicans in Indiana who rebuffed the president on redistricting?
It's hard to say, man, because not every like we like to group them all into one bucket to say Republicans, but it's some Republicans that are willing to stand up. Like I see it on social media where the president, more recently, where he had the comments about the people who were murdered or passed away.
Rob Reiner and his wife.
Yeah. And Republicans are like condemning him publicly.
Right.
They don't always go online, but when it comes to certain issues, like I've seen the governor kind of like a top-down approach. So I guess it just begs to offer like how serious is the president about the fact the state shouldn't do this.
That's kind of that's part of the issue here with artificial intelligence is, one, the federal government has no appetite to do regulation on AI. And two, they're just working with a stupid amount of money. These companies are worth an inconceivable amount of money. So one of the faults that I see with any type of state regulation around AI, I see two issues mainly. The first being, because these companies are working with such stupid amounts of money, financial like fees and fines are not going to be as effective because you can just
pay it.
Yeah, so
cost of business.
An example that I use is one of your bills, an environmental bills around data centers. You would fine a company $50,000 a day for not adhering to the law. $50,000 a day sounds like a lot. It's $1.5 million per month. OpenAI, these data center companies, they can build that into their budget and not have to think about it.
Yeah.
The other kind of weakness that I see in some of this regulation is around enforcement mechanisms and the classic may versus shall debate. Hey there, I just wanted to do a quick aside about may versus shall. When legislators are writing bills and they are directing someone to do something with that bill, they can either use the word may or shall. If they use the word may, they're leaving it up to the discretion of someone else down the line. If they use shall, they're saying this must happen. If my wife tells me you may go to the store today, it leaves it up for me to decide. If my wife says you shall go to the store today, I better get my ass to the store. Another one of your bills that I took a look at said that a specific department, I think the environmental department for the state.
Conservation?
Yeah, the conservation department may impose fines or may, take away their accreditation or their license. Why not shall? Why not put a little more teeth into that?
So that's always a consideration, may versus shall. I think for me, when you look at the department as a whole, that's part of the consideration. Like it's one of those things where you don't want to pigeonhole them so much that they have to, but they make the decisions based on trends. You know what I'm saying? And I know when it comes to the environment, that's something that's always going to be priority one for them. And then as far as like the may versus shall, like sometimes you have to consider whether or not we have the legal authority to be able to do so in a way that it wouldn't make our bill unconstitutional. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's kind of an issue that I'm running into with my legislation around hedge funds purchasing single family homes. It's like, sure, like if you're a company that you're not set up in Missouri, you don't reside in Missouri, do we have the authority to prohibit you from purchasing a building in our state? And it just brings to light broader questions when you're trying to pass state level laws for companies that function on a broader scale.
Understood, yeah.
But one thing that I would say is like for all the legislation that we're pushing, it should be getting done at the federal level, period. But the fact that it's not, it's like the hope is that we send out a beacon to other states to say, okay, let's see what you saw what they just filed in Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana. Like maybe we should be doing something and we all can kind of start the conversations around it that might ultimately become the framework for what gets done at the federal level.
And just to do an annoying ad pivot here, FastDemocracy, which is a software that I use for this show, they have a software that analyzes bills and tells you if there are similar bills in other states. So if you're talking about collaboration, it's a great tool for that. I think artificial intelligence is the thing that you and I are probably going to have the most conversations about going into session, just because I think this is one of those kind of predominant issues of our time. These when we look at the economy, so many of the gains that we're seeing in the economy are concentrated in like 4 companies that are focusing on AI and data center development. And so I do think that there needs to be these strict government regulations, which is why I really liked to see some of the legislation that you were filing. What is the thing that you are least looking forward to for legislative session?
The thing that I'm least looking forward to, and I think you'll understand this, I'm a father, man, and a husband. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people don't realize, like when you're in City Hall, like that's one thing. Yep. You know, but when you have to go to the state, travel to the state capitol every week, you know, my daughter just had ballet. She has a recital coming up, and that was the last one that I'll be able to see before I have to go back to Jeff City. So being away from the family is always the toughest part of it. Being there, you know, dealing with the chaos, like that's just, you know, cost of business.
You're just running on pure adrenaline for 4.5 months, and you can get through it if you just accept that. And then I guess the big thing is like, what are you looking forward to most as we go into legislative session?
So I had my thoughts around that before, but it's kind of changed. Because last night we had like a Democratic like holiday party, and I didn't realize it. Like we spend every day, you know, 10, 12-hour days with our colleagues, and then we leave and we don't talk to each other. We text maybe a little bit, but it's like, you know, it's like a family. You know, so like getting back into the swing of it, getting back into the sprint and the fight. Like I'm excited to be back with my colleagues. Well,
Representative Marty Joe Murray, thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much. Huge shout out to Representative Marty Joe Murray for sitting down with me. I'm taking a bit of a break for the holidays. The next video and Substack post are going to be out on January 10th. That's a Saturday. It's going to be reviewing the first couple days of legislative session, which starts on January 7th in Missouri. We'll see you there.